Greetings, Speed Gaming Live 2023. Welcome to the Timespinner Randomizer Tournament Losers Bracket match between KewlioMZX and WindFaeMaiden. Both of our racers are already ready. We do have about 30 seconds until proper kickoff, so we're going to fill time by saying that this is going to be a pretty good one. I'm joined here in the booth by Jim the Eternal. My name is Wef Jebster. How's it going, Jim?
I'm excited. I'm thrilled to be here. These are both great racers with a solid history in the community. I'm excited to see what they bring what they bring to the table here.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and lift the gate here, and our runners should be off and racing very shortly.
So Kewnlio comes to the community from the Archipelago side, has been not only in this tournament, but in last year's tournament. WindFaeMaiden has a history of speedrunning Timespinner, so definitely coming from two different perspectives here.
Yeah, and Archipelago has been pretty large for the Timespinner Randomizer community in general. A lot of people who would have never otherwise discovered this game have discovered it through Archipelago, and I just think that's neat.
Right, super neat. And, hopefully it goes both ways. Maybe we'll bring some Timespinner runners to the Archipelago community and expand that way too. Cross-pollination serves everybody.
Yeah, it kind of all started with the Final Fantasy I randomizer community. They kind of invaded the Timespinner randomizer community, started playing a bunch in asyncs, and just spread the good word of Timespinner randomizer. So really happy to have everybody. I want to shout out to the Final Fantasy randomizer community. I got a couple buds over there that I like to see every once in a while. But our runners will be going very shortly.
Well, you know what they say, a rising tide raises all boats. Speaking of which, I'm hoping for some real rising tides in this seed.
Yes, I'm going to just say, let's just invert every bit of water that can be inverted.
That sounds awesome.
Fire orb to start. Interesting, kind of a less popular orb. It's because it has misleading amounts of damage. You think it does about half the damage it actually does, but because it has two projectiles, if you hit with both of them, then it actually does some pretty decent damage.
And Chaos Blades minus for the spell, which is not the best, but serviceable.
Yeah, it's not bad. In some really weird edge cases, it can be used because it has a high reach. It can be used to aggro enemies, get them into their AI script where they start trying to attack you. You can kind of bait them into better movement for you to dodge if you don't have any way to eagerly or earn to deboost through them. If you're not eager to, Tailwind Ring Plus may be useful here in the early going if they don't have a spell. Tailwind Ring is a ring that boosts your damage output. Ooh, early water mask. It turns out.
I'm excited for the rising tides possibilities. Everything's going to be flooded.
WindFae actually, before water mask entered WindFae's relics, did a quick check of the map before the water mask was in the relics to see if Lake Serene was flooded or not. So she saw that before the water mask was in her inventory, she actually saw that Lake Serene was out of logic. So you see this bird is very much crowding this edge. There you go.
Oh my god,
and Kewnlio ended up in the same...
Unbelievable.
Kewnlio and WindFae both ended up with the same enemy AI there, where the bird was just kind of hanging out there, and WindFae, as I had said before, I said it was very edge case, but WindFae cast Chaos Blades, kickstarted that bird's AI, got it to fly off that edge.
Kewnlio deciding birds are not worth playing around with. Gonna wait on picking up that Timespinner gear until later. Let's hope they remember. This is an easy one to potentially miss later on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of on the way. You would have to jump over it because
they don't have the warp to Serene, so they'll have to go through there eventually.
Yeah, it's just good knowledge. If the Aura Blast Plus, the main thing you want to keep track of there is if you have some sort of like progression there. Mm-hmm. Aura Blast Plus is a very good spell. It has a lot of individual ticks of damage, which help with when you have a plus multiplier on it like that. WindFae forgetting she has... Nope. Did not forget she had water mask. Well, did forget. Went back for it.
Yep.
That's a gun orb
Gun
plus.
orb plus. That's exciting.
Wow.
That is some decent damage. So gun orb sharp, which is not actually as effective as you'd want it to be. I think there's a lot of enemies that resist sharp. Good against some bosses, not against others, but any plus orb in a pinch.
Yeah, it's incredible for maw caves, as Lily points out in chat. Staying away from those mushroom towers is key, because when you hit them, unless you one-shot them, they provide nice little clouds of poisonous spores that do damage and poison you.
Mm-hmm. Not easy to shoot with gun orb either, because of the range of motion that it has on just shooting straight forward in a very, very thin line. But our runners both managing to knock out a few bats with it.
Yeah, then speaking of range, the other annoying thing about the gun orb is that it has a minimum range. If the enemy is inside the gun's actual sprite, the gun orb will not hit the enemy.
Oh, so Coolio going straight into the Caves of Banishment. This makes a lot of sense with the water mask in hand. They're not going to be abandoning any checks here.
Yeah, and also the gun orb plus there is going to help.
Good for the mushrooms, right?
Really great for the mushrooms. That's basically why you would want gun orb plus. Let's see if WindFae takes the same route. Yep, looks like it.
Same choice, yep. So both of them on the same path here, which honestly can be expected. The progression that they have leads them into certain routes, and this is no different. This is absolutely the route that you want to be taking here.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have vertical yet, so there's been a sneaky amount of items that have been required at Bombardier Chest, which requires vertical movement or time stop. They have neither of those, and backtracking to it isn't hard, but it's also not great, because there is another check deeper into the castle ramparts that is much farther away, which is the time stop the engineer chest. I don't know what it's actually called, but that's what I call it.
Engineer chest sounds fine to me.
Engineer chest, yeah. There are a lot of engineers. But yeah, they're going through. Go ahead.
They're both hoping to find some additional progression here, something else that'll lead them in one particular direction or another, whether that's to go back to Serene or to head up in the castle, and potentially fight the Golden Idol spot, potentially up into Alana's towers. We'll see what they find.
I would say time stop takes me to the left, and I would say anything else takes me at least temporarily off to the right. Just because double jump minimum at least lets you get that portal up in Royal Towers.
Mm-hmm. And getting the warp locations is going to be a big deal. We start with the pyramid keys in this seed, which is different from last year, but it means that any of those warp rooms that they hit, they'll be able to revisit very quickly. Not a lot of running around once you have the warps.
We get some information there at Forbidden Tome minus, which does mean that our Jin Inferno, colloquially referred to as the Meatball, is also minus. Oh, there's a Wind Orb plus. We had mentioned.
I'm excited for WindFae.
In WindFae's last seed, she also had Wind Orb plus, so we'll probably see an immediate move over to that orb. I think without the name there and without the connotations, I think she does just prefer it straight up over the gun orb. So I think
apparently missing Nell's check from the first time through.
Interesting.
Maybe because of that death.
Maybe had just rushed out because of the death. Yeah,
interesting. I didn't know that was possible. But Coolio getting it back now, and then looks like heading back to the warp room, probably to continue in the palace.
Yeah, looks like it. WindFae is going to be heading off to the right, not taking that portal. Probably not that big of a deal since they're going to be going up. Then, yeah, I don't know. And it's interesting. Something I kind of want to call out here: WindFae and Coolio both killing a lot of enemies early.
Yeah, access to plus orbs definitely gives them the ability to get this experience early on, which once you start getting into the boss fights, the things you actually need to kill, it's going to make that a lot easier.
Right, yeah. WindFae took this tactic in one of her earlier races, but that was with Sellen's Bangle. So we'll see how long WindFae decides to continue killing things.
And both of them pretty much lining up here. Maybe a screen, WindFae about a screen behind. And not much difference in terms of what they found or how progressed they are.
Yeah, they've essentially all done the same exact thing. Coolio doesn't have that gear, but it's going to be in stride later.
Yeah, it's not going to be too far out of the way, considering they're going to be walking right past that chest on the way to Lake Serene eventually.
Yep.
Unless there's a particularly lucky or unlucky time-worn beacon.
Now, Coolio, this is a play that Coolio's made in the past, skipping moat.
Interesting.
There are 2 items down there that our runners can get. Coolio has skipped moat in, I think, every race I've ever seen him run. So it's just kind of his play. I think it's a reasonable one to make. I don't know if... I mean, obviously, if it keeps paying off, then it keeps paying off. If it doesn't pay off immediately, then obviously you make the wrong call. You look a little silly. But it does take a bit of time to check these 2 checks. WindFae being rewarded with a captain's cap.
It's going to be a bunch of extra damage for her.
It's going to be a lot of extra damage. We'll see again. Now that they have these plus orbs, WindFae's got a captain's cap. How long are we going to sit on this strategy of grinding on enemies? Now, you see, this is why Coolio doesn't check the moat. WindFae, now, I mean, no progression there, is pretty much almost the entire castle ramparts behind. Coolio,
yeah, that was a good minute 30 for 2 checks it's a lot.
Yeah, we'll see.
And as you said, if it continues to pay off, right? Not exactly punishing him here.
Yeah, there's really no. If there's nothing there, then it's great. It's just like any other check. So it's just like any other gamble. The main thing is that it's right by a portal. It's not like it's a difficult thing to go back and check later.
That's true, especially if you're going to get vertical later on. That's going to make it easier. You don't actually need to go lower the drawbridge. You can just jump up and get the 2 checks.
That is precisely the logic that I think goes through Coolio's head when he does that.
Oh, that's interesting.
But it is Sphere 0.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. It's scary to skip. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So do we know about the flooded or unflooded state of the basement loop?
I didn't catch it when WindFae checked the map earlier.
It's not going to make too much of a difference here, since it's going to be in logic either way, since they already have the water mask.
That's true. But it
looks like it's open, so that'll be a quicker traversal.
All right, Coolio grabbing that safety save. Going through those ramparts with the giantesses when you don't really have any movement. Got to deboost some. Sometimes you just want to make sure you don't take a very unfortunate death.
Yeah, those giantesses hit hard. And they're not that easy to avoid. It's not like they have damage, but it's not like it's insane damage. And the giantesses do a lot of resisting for the elements that they have.
Yeah, they straight up resist Sharp in their 2 best ways. Sharp and Aura. And their 2 best ways of dealing damage are Sharp and Aura right now. So even with the plus orbs, it's still not an easy kill for those giantesses.
Absolutely. Gun Ore making short work of all of these weak to Sharp enemies. And the wheel!
That is the wheel.
So that's going to open up a lot, right? It's not exactly vertical, but in the right places, it can get you places that you might not otherwise be able to get to. That'll open up Lake Serene. That'll open up the Golden Idol fight. Shadow
Seal also here in the castle loop. This castle loop is a play that pretty much every runner does. There's no real downside to doing it. You get a whole bunch of checks, and when you leave it, it kind of drops you out at the same place that you entered it without any backtracking involved. So there's not a whole lot of things that can be said for skipping this. As Coolio finds a lot of gas mask time.
Yeah, gas mask. Not a lot for right now, but it does mean that the Maw fight is in logic, and it does mean that the 2 checks in Lake Desolation that the Maw fight opens up are going to be in logic.
Honestly, gas mask is almost more important for information than it is for actually using it. when you find the gas mask, like you said, it puts that Maw Fight in logic, and as such puts everything that's behind the 3 lasers that open up when you kill the 3 bosses in the past. So that is it's more important as information, I think, because when you get that gas mask, you start thinking, all right, well, maybe I do go and kill the twins.
Right, yeah, the twins, an easy fight to fade. It's 1 check, and it's kind of a tanky amount of HP for how early in the game it is. But if you don't have that gas mask, there's no guarantee you'll ever need to make it past the laser gate. What with the Unchained keys and Enter Pyramid flags that we have set up.
Yep, and so here we go. We're going to see if WindFae decides to actually go to the right, do the checks under the twins, which has been kind of like a trendy check to make.
It is the meta.
It is currently the meta. We'll see what we find here. Radiant Orb minus and a health up.
Not a big
WindFae is going to go check it anyway, but yeah. So Coolio saying, "All right, do I want to do the twins fight now?"
Checking to see what's in logic, checking to see what's next on the list.
Yeah, and I figure you walk all this way, you might as well. You can get up there. You can't, and this is the thing. You can jump on that dude's head and get up here, but oh no, he's just gonna grab the max health up and leave? Okay.
I respect that. I think Coolio has been struggling with some boss fights, and he's gotten a lot better damage. He had a really, really unfortunate seed the last time I saw him. The loss that put him into the loser's bracket here was just very frustrating to fight through. And I think he's still feeling that. I think he's a little bit boss avoidant here, and I don't blame him for that at all. He's in a much better place than he was last time. And yeah, I think by getting some more checks, it'll be even better.
What happened in the last seed, he and his opponent, neither of them really had much damage. His opponent had slightly better gear, equipables, I mean. And they got Canter unlocked, which means they went to the left towards Lake Serene, didn't have vertical or time stop to get out of Lake Serene. And so in order to even do anything else in the entire game, they had to beat the Canter fight. And the Canter fight was, I believe it was Azure Queen.
That sounds about right.
And just not a lot of armor, not a lot of damage, and it was just a struggle. It was a struggle for both runners. Coolio's opponent ended up doing a little bit more damage, which helped him get out. But yeah, as WindFae finds Zarian here, this is making the skip the twins play look pretty good.
Right? Zarian a pain to fight.
This is not a great fight you want to find. The Aura Blast should be doing a lot of work here.
But WindFae's favored Wind Orbs, not particularly effective against Zarian. Likewise, Gun Orb, not particularly effective against Zarian. The Fire is going to do a little bit more work, but the Fire is not as much damage as she'd like.
No, not at all. She is gonna go ahead and make sure that she doesn't heal this poison. She does have the Shadow Seal. She might just go ahead and intentionally take one of these Shadow Portals. Yeah, get her down to like 50, a little below 50, so she's going to be doing a lot more damage here. Now, this is one she doesn't want to take. Very good use of time stop here to dodge those portals.
Man, watching WindFae fight these bosses is always a clinic. You know, that speedrunner experience. She's so precise with the time stop. She knows so much about which orbs are going to be effective and where. Like, it's just so great to watch.
Yep, and only got a max aura out of it. However, they do have gas mask, so it's possible that that's just a required fight.
Yeah, we won't know for quite a while. I mean, we've got a bunch of like Serene to check. There's a bunch of stuff in the past. So eventually, one of them's going to make a lab play, maybe, but we'll see.
Coolio heading into Lake Serene. WindFae doesn't really have much to do except for to follow, so we'll see what Coolio gets, and WindFae should be getting it. Actually, there's no guarantee that WindFae goes the bottom side or Coolio goes the bottom side. They could take 2 different routes through Lake Serene.
That's true, with Time Stop. Oh, and Light Wall for Coolio. I'm not exactly sure where he picked that one up.
Just now in the bottom of this lake here.
Well, that makes sense. They'll definitely have access to the top side. And with Fire, they'll have the ability to burn the vine. So I'm actually expecting both of them to, at the very least, get that first check and maybe do the horseshoe play.
Oh, WindFae's going to be checking Bombardier check here, and also the
Engineer Jump.
The Engineer Jump. So these are, like I said, 2 locations that get faded a lot and have kind of burned runners in the past. There's an Empire Orb.
Wow! Well, as much as we love Wind Orb,
there's something to be said about the best pound for pound orb in the game.
the Big Fist.
Yep. Okay, so
Yeah,
Coolio,
immediately one-shotting the poor archer.
Yeah,
I love it.
Coolio, you'll see over there, Coolio getting too far inside of the wall and shooting the gun orb, and it's not acting to help break the wall. It's just one of those things that you have to look out for with gun orb. All right, WindFae getting the engineer jump, and it's a max health up. So nothing progression-wise, but that Empire orb could be a difference maker here.
Absolutely. I mean, I think WindFae already has the advantage when it comes to the boss fights and kind of that one particular technical aspect of Timespinner running, but the Empire Orb is huge.
So, this is just a fun thing that I like to observe when people do things like skip the twins or skip them all. So if we end up needing to go past the laser gates, what are the odds you think Coolio forgot he skipped twins and goes to try and go through the laser gates only to realize that he hadn't killed twins yet?
I definitely expect him to go kill Alana before he comes back to kill twins. But I think you have a good shot of that being what happens. Killing Alana, warping out, going straight to the military hangar and being like, oh.
It happens all the time. I do it. Everybody does it. You skip a boss and you're like, oh yeah, I should probably go back and do that.
So Lake Serena's drained here, which means the traversal in this area is going to be a little bit quicker, a little bit easier, but it also means that they don't have the extra height from the water, so they're going to need the vertical from the light wall that they have not yet both found, but WindFae not going to skip the eels checks.
Yeah, Coolio goes ahead, gets the portal, probably going to do that before checking all of these other Lake Serene checks, like the Azure Queen. Looks like Coolio's going to do the Azure Queen.
May or may not end up getting the bottom parts of Lake Serene. I think Coolio went the top route, so there's 4 or 5 something checks down there that are easy to skip if you're all goal-oriented.
Yeah, I think there's an argument to be made for skipping them, but with Unchained Keys, you have warps, but you don't have warp shards. We got an arm cannon plus before Azure Queen.
Oh, and that'd be pretty effective in this fight, too.
That would be great in this fight.
Arm Cannon dealing both radiant and sharp damage, and Varney here weak to radiant damage. Not that there's another good source of radiant damage.
Alright, so we have WindFae picking up that light wall, getting one of her loadouts set up so she can light wall at will. All right, Coolio taking out Varney at Azure Queen.
Gun plus making short work of the boy.
Max Aura up behind the vines in the pass, and there's one more check here. Max health up. Okay, well.
Left to right, Coolio. Okay, so Coolio going to check those remaining checks underneath Lake Serene. Understandable.
Yeah, I didn't catch to see if any of the enemies dropped a warp shard. This is an even better play if the enemies have been dropping warp shards.
Absolutely.
Standing on the doggo to use a light wall there.
Yeah, and it's just a little bit more complex to get that one check.
Yeah.
As opposed to just floating up top. Same here. This is actually really difficult to get when it's dry. With double jump, you don't need to do too much more work. But light wall as your only vertical makes this a little rough.
It does make it a little bit rough, a little slow to do. WindFae has tricked the bird into being stunned and not moving. Sometimes that happens when you jump directly over. Oh, an economizer ring. I didn't even see that. Coolio's like, can I make this jump?
Coolio's tried once and not gotten it, so I think they're a little concerned.
Yeah, this is kind of why not doing these checks to the right is oh no.
Oh. Yep, there it is. The walk of shame.
Yeah.
I've done the same.
Yeah, you have to kill things to get aura. When you don't have to kill things, you have to kill things to get sand. You can just walk back and forth and be angry about it, and you'll get aura back. But Coolio is just going to get past these vines and continue to traverse the bottom of Lake Desolation this way.
There should be 2 more checks available to him, not including the one that he is probably not going back for immediately.
Oh, gosh, Coolio having to use one of his mana consumables there. He did get the Economizer ring there, right?
I think so. I think he just hasn't equipped it.
Yeah. The Economizer ring, when you are stuck on single jump light wall, is really tough to...
Well,
oh my goodness, and both of our runners getting the Celestial Sash at the same time.
Speaking of being stuck on single jump light wall.
Oh my goodness.
Coolio immediately doubling back to get that the thing he missed.
Oh, absolutely. You have to at this point. You're heading back towards the Maw Caves anyway, I'd think. So, like, why not?
Isn't there one more check on the right side? I'm not sure if there's still more in the next room over.
How far did they go?
They got to the breakable wall. Yeah, I think there's one more check in the next room over that they didn't get.
I want to remark on something WindFae just did there, and this is very high-end tech. WindFae jumping over the slopes there. You're... 2 things. Lunaeus moves faster when she's not on a slope. Oh, Coolio. Yeah, Coolio is going over here to get one more check. Lunaeus moves faster when she's not on a slope. And secondly, jumping over those little slopes makes Lunaeus, when you're ultimately going to be going in a horizontal straight line, makes Lunaeus's path through the air more of a straight line, which obviously is going to be faster than walking up and down those slopes and having those diagonals. So little tiny things that you do in the speedrun, this is what we're seeing here from WindFae.
Oh, Coolio going back for the Cantorin fight. Okay.
Yep.
And it's Azure Queen again, the rematch.
That's poetic right there. I think Coolio is a little bit better equipped for the fight this time.
Yeah. I think he's going to make short work of this big bird. I think he's going to do just fine. And I'm happy for him, honestly. He needs this closure.
Yeah, this is cathartic. another Azure Queen at Cantorin fight. All right, so Coolio going back, probably going to go to this portal, go to the Maw Caves. I don't really see any reason not to.
That sounds about right. And still a little bit ahead of WindFae. WindFae went back for some of the one-offs that didn't have anything important in them. So Coolio just has the advantage of having not checked stuff that, fortunately for him, hasn't mattered. And
WindFae making use of that Arm Cannon Plus.
Oh,
basically immediately killing Varney. All right, Coolio's getting to the Maw. And looks like WindFae's opting to go Ilana.
With the Sash, I think that's a reasonable decision to make here.
Yeah, we've kind of noticed this when you have a lot of good vertical movement, but you don't have the Teleria attachment to improve your horizontal movement, you're actually getting a bit more check efficiency by going vertical. And it looks like WindFae's going very horizontal now, but once she gets to that tower, you're going to see a lot of really fast vertical movement. So the hope is that your fast horizontal movement, that is the Teleria attachment, is in Ilana's tower.
And given that they have all of the vertical now, everything's going to be accessible with the possible exception of the pink room.
So here's a check that Coolio was not able to do because of the lack of verticality, just a filigree T. So nothing, again, Coolio really not missing anything there.
Coolio not saving and quitting, did he find something relevant or just not a
fan? With Sash, it's negligible. I mean, it's probably a little bit faster to save and quit, but I don't know. With the Sash, because you have to walk in and out of the save room, like, that's still extra movement that's kind of wasted. So when you have the Sash, you can kind of zoom around, and it's not as big of a deal. The big save and quit strat in the Maw Caves is when you don't have that kind of movement, and it just takes forever. Or when it's flooded, it just takes so long.
Coolio finding Plasma Geyser Plus, which is an okay spell if you want some plasma, but it means that Plasma Orb will be plus should it get found, and that is a game changer.
Yeah, and it's also our runner's first pink item.
That's true. So now when Coolio goes to Ilana's towers, he's not going to be skipping that. He's not going to be skipping Mom's room.
Right. So WindFae should hope to find Pink at some point, although she has already passed up that check.
Mm-hmm. Although, like, the history so far, this seed has not had very many relevant things in the skippable one-offs. So,
Tablet, no present access yet, so the tablet really doesn't do anything. Coolio did find the A card.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the A card was in Jackpot Room. So A card, again, it's another kind of sort of important item. Not until they have present access, though.
Which, with only 2 pieces of the Time Spinner found, it's looking like they're probably going to need to get to some other age at this point.
Yeah, at this point, only 2 pieces of the Time Spinner, no pyramid access yet. Although we did say that in the last race. Oh my goodness! Well, speaking of,
Gear 2.
I was gonna say we said that in the last race, and then they found a whole bunch of stuff in Maw Caves and in Ilana's tower, and then never had to go to the present. So it's not out of the question.
Not out of the question at all. So WindFae has yet to find anything particularly relevant. They found the tablet, which Coolio doesn't have, but nothing that immediately helps them.
Sellen's Bangle. I mean, it's good, but it's not progression, right?
It's good. It's not progression, and also, like, both of our runners just have a ton of damage right now anyway. That extra bit of experience is going to make small bits of difference, but it's not the huge deal that it would be if it was found earlier, or if they didn't have good equipment, or if they didn't have good orbs.
Yeah, and the thing about damage in this, when you're based on level, is it's a multiplier, right? So the higher you get, the difference between levels 19 and 20 is much different than the experience that you need to gain to go from like level 5 to level 10. So, and there's a twin pyramid key, modern warp beacon at the struggle juggle spot. Not a struggle, obviously, because of the celestial sashes. Coolio is fighting the Maw spot, which is Emperor Nubius.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
Old
really
Dad.
have great damage for Old Dad here. Gun Orb is good, being able to keep your distance, and there you have it. That's a pretty quick one.
Mm-hmm. Nuvius notably strong against Aura, which is the Empire Fist.
And only weak to Plasma.
Mm-hmm. Not that Coolio has the Empire Fist, right? That was WindFae found that in some random one-off?
Found it in... Yeah, some random one-off. I don't remember what it was. So we have another arm cannon sighting. This is more of that radiant damage coming from the heat-seeking part of the arm cannon.
Yeah, really big damage. Very effective here.
How about this? This is WindFae not saving before the Twins fight and not saving before the Ilana fight and being rewarded with Zarian and Ravenlord.
2 of the rougher fights for sure.
Yeah.
Nothing she can't handle, though.
No. Especially with that Arm Cannon Plus, you don't need to get close. Kind of just keep your distance. They have... both of our runners have good damage here, so...
WindFae going for Bat Ledge now. I don't think we've seen what's on Bat Ledge yet.
They're both going for Bat Ledge. It looks
at the same time. Excellent. Our
Very excellent.
A high 5 at the Bat Ledge.
B card. Okay, so WindFae has present access. I did not get to see what the actual present warp was.
But WindFae now just needs to kill Maw, and she'll have access to the lab if that's the direction she wants to go.
Yep. And Coolio probably gonna check. Probably gonna get the Empire Orb Plus here. I think the Empire Orb Plus was the
engineer jump.
It was the engineer jump. Yeah.
I'm willing to believe that.
Oh, and hasn't gotten the moat yet, but here you go. A time save from Coolio, getting the vertical, fading the moat. Very happy to see that it wasn't like the succubus hairpin or the Teleria attachment.
Which, at that point would have felt disgustingly behind.
Yeah. I think Coolio knows Coolio is the only one to skip the moat.
So we have them kind of crossing paths now. Oh, there it is. Bombardiers, yep.
Little minor high 5 in Bat Cave, and yeah.
Coolio still okay. So picking up those one-offs on the way, and then gonna head up to Ilana's towers to get all the checks that WindFae's made.
Yep.
And hopefully not going to forget about twins, since it's looking like Lab is going to be the play.
It does look like Lab is going to be the play at this point. Still missing Pyramid Access and 2 pieces of the Timespinner. We know Ilana's tower doesn't have that, so we are going to see. And there's the save.
Yeah, I mean, with the tablet, like all of that could just be in the library, and then it's like, well, this is a good seed.
Yep. And so, yeah, Coolio's going to find both the tablet and the modern warp beacon in Ilana's tower. So,
a quick note about how they're crossing paths here. One advantage for WindFae is by going to Ilana's towers first, she's picked up warp shards, which means that the backtracking that Coolio is doing from these one-off chests is something that WindFae doesn't have to do for the rest of her one-off checks.
Yep. Unfortunately for her, she already did the one-off checks. So
not much of an advantage then.
Yep, so WindFae should be getting the A key card. Yep, right here. And this is now officially a tight race.
Yeah, this is pretty close. I guess we'll see who's ahead or behind once they both come out of their respective sub-dungeons here and head to the present.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really in terms of serious divergence that our runners have done. They've both burned vines. They both full cleared lake. There's really, it's just they're doing the stuff that the other has done. And Coolio is going to fight the twins now, so.
Good.
Yeah. Didn't forget.
Not forgetting, although in this case, I think the warp shards things comes into play because again, he's going to have to backtrack out of here in order to get up to Ilana's towers. I would have loved to have seen him gone up to Ilana's towers and had access to that warp and got those warp shards before coming down to fight the twins.
Yeah, that, with the starting with the twin pyramid key, that's becoming kind of like a popular thing. Coolio taking the pot shot route against Zarian at twins. And yeah, Aura Blast
first. Yep.
Yeah. All right, WindFae now heading into that Maw fight. No reason to not do it. Switching to Radiant Minus.
Wow, this is a choice. I guess to clear out the worms.
Perhaps.
Just getting right back there.
Arm Cannon Plus is right there. I think that would probably be the best option here.
And I think this also shows the familiarity that WindFae has with the game. Knowing which of the spells deal what kind of damage and where they're useful is something that comes with time and with practice, and maybe just not the kind of thing that Coolio's been focused on.
Yeah, well, it takes out Zarian anyway. In terms of the amount of time it took, WindFae was much lower level, so probably took about the same amount of time.
I think so. WindFae was struggling with damage at that point, but Coolio being a little bit less efficient and all washes out.
Yep. All right, so WindFae's got one check here, and then we'll probably zip immediately to the present.
Which, assuming they both continue heading the same directions, that puts her a good 5-10 minutes ahead. Coolio's going to be taking some time to go through Ilana's towers here.
Yeah, and it's gonna come down to the having those warp shards early, having to walk this long route to the twins twice, stuff like that. The little bit of movement struggles in Lake Serene. I don't know about 5 minutes. It might be like 3 minutes with the Celestial Sash. Coolio's also going to be checking pink here. Coolio is checking pink. WindFae hasn't checked pink yet, so. If this has something, no. It had Netherworld Plus.
One-offs don't matter.
It had Netherworld Plus.
Coolio doesn't seem to be that impressed with Netherworld Plus, sticking with his current orbs for now.
Yeah, has Gun, has Empire too now, so at this point, Netherworld Plus would be good against someone like the Golden Idol, someone like Ilana, obviously, because of the added nether portals. All right, we'll see if WindFae goes ahead and... Yep, they both have Kobo from very early in the seed, so we'll see what the Ifrit spot has. It's Sandman.
Ifrit Sandman. Slightly beefier Sandman than usual.
WindFae mashing the attack button, getting a little bit terrible boss RNG here with the attacks that Sandman is doing. Got rocks falling once and already got the slam attack once, but wind plus and the ability to mash is definitely going to win the day here. Every tick is 55 damage. That's just a lot to be doing at, you know, about what, 6 a second? I don't know what the actual number that how fast WindFae's mashing here, but it's a lot of damage.
And we have
the spindle.
Okay, that's going to be a huge advantage for WindFae. I don't know that Coolio's going to want to check the Ifrit spot.
If Coolio remains boss averse, then I think that is a good call out. But, you know, the deeper into the seed we go, the more powerful Coolio is going to feel. And the more powerful he is, obviously, because of the immense amounts of damage. And, you know, we have a captain's cap. I don't know what their body armor is right now. I don't know.
Lab jacket, I think.
They have the lab coat. And there's... Oh, there's... Never mind. I thought that was pyramid access.
No, not yet.
Okay.
But they're also just a gear away from pyramid access. The vanilla access from the lab still works, even with the Unchained Keys setting.
That is
Enter Stamina setting. Oh, no D card. They can't actually get out of the library.
Oh, you're right. They won't have because they need the D card. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So still 2 pieces away.
Yep. We've had so many of these races start right of the library where the B card isn't needed, either military hangar or in the Siren Caves that, oh yeah, you do kind of need the D card to get to the military hangar, don't you?
Also into the lab, if that's the direction they want to go.
Yes.
But we see WindFae making what the only checks she can at this point, right? Going over to Lake Desolation, there's not much else left.
Yeah, that's all there is except for Pink Room for WindFae, and yeah.
Correctly making the choice to not go back for Pink, although she doesn't know that.
Yeah, and there's the Modern Warp Beacon for Coolio, so probably going to see an immediate warp to the present after Coolio picks up this chest bottom. Oh, Coolio hasn't fought Ilana yet? Okay, Coolio went right down. Right okay. All right, and there's Prince Nuvius.
Prince Nuvius filling in for the Feline Sentry. I think he's going to get demolished here, as is tradition.
I was assuming it would be a 1 cycle, but nope, not quite.
Coolio
and there's the pyramid access.
Oh my god. All right. Well, we are in business. The question is, where is that last piece of the time spinner?
Yeah.
So we're on a gear hunt now for WindFae. It could be literally anywhere in this
Literally anywhere. Right now, they have Zarian Cave access. They also have pyramid access. I wouldn't be surprised with 1 gear remaining for Go mode to see WindFae check the pyramid here.
That's as good a time as any, honestly. I think WindFae will continue where she is right now. There's no point in abandoning these checks, but the moment she gets to a warp room, I wouldn't be surprised to see her go into the pyramid.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe make her way to the Zarian warp room, and oh no, there's more checks up on the top side here in the present because she has defeated the Maw. So getting these Maw checks and getting an Ether and Chaos Rose and something else that didn't matter.
Coolio making his way into the present now. We're going to see him go through the library checks that WindFae. Is he going to check the Ifrit spot is the real question.
That's going to be really important for him if he does. He saved. So to me that says, if you save, to me that says you're going to go do the fight.
I hope so. I hope so for him. I want him to be in this race.
Yeah.
Edge of my seat right now. Will he, won't he?
Well, I mean, again, he saved. Like, there's no reason to. You're not really in danger here, so there's no reason to save unless you plan on doing the fight. And again, once he does it, there's nowhere else to go but to the left of the library. So
that's true. So he's going to be following in WindFae's footsteps either way.
Yeah, and there he goes. Goes to the fight.
All right. This is still a race. We'll see. In theory, he could decide to go to Zarian while WindFae goes to the pyramid or something like that. We could see
possible.
A divergence there.
Yeah, so Coolio will be fighting Coolio will be fighting Sandman here. Probably won't have too much trouble. Is kind of really leaning on that Gun Plus.
Gun Plus not the worst choice, but Wind Orb just doing so much more damage, so much faster.
Yeah, the mashing is unfortunate. Is an unfortunate part of Wind Orb, and some people just don't like or don't want to do all that button mashing, which is understandable. But it definitely, if you're doing sharp damage right now, I would say that your Wind Plus is significantly more damage per second.
Yep. So he's going to be stuck in this fight a little bit longer, but not too much longer. I don't think it's going to be that big of a difference.
WindFae is doing Bottom of Desolation. I do want to call out, she did pick up the Merchant Crow in the burned vine spot behind where Azure Queen would be in present. So that adds 3 more checks to the lab.
If she picks up a D card and ends up wanting to go right as a result.
Yeah, could have the ever elusive D card as bait seed. Yeah, Planeswater makes a good call. Gun Orb is not affected by the Shadow Seal. So
yeah, that definitely makes a big difference.
Yeah, all the damage that WindFae is getting by just sitting there and tanking the falling rocks or tanking the slam attack that Sandman bars from the Azure Queen, to her benefit, where Coolio doesn't quite get that benefit out of that.
That's right. So where is WindFae heading now? Okay, into the Zarian Caves.
Could be skeleton and skedaddle. Could be doing the old skeleton and skedaddle.
A favorite of mine, honestly. I'm a big fan of Skelly.
Almost warp sharding. Selected the warp shard in the menu and decided against it at the last second to do Zarian Caves.
So committing to Zarian Caves over the Pyramid, which is kind of not the meta choice at this point, given the way the qualifier seed went and some of the other seeds that we've seen in this tournament. I think a lot of our racers have the fear, the expectation that either Regret Chest or the Sandman Door will have that last piece of the Time Spinner.
Right. And you worry here about bait, right? Now, that's not to say Pyramid can't have bait, but you worry about getting something in Zarian Caves that leads you away from the Pyramid, a place that you have to go. You know you have to go to the Pyramid.
Absolutely.
It's just a matter of when you go. Well,
there's the gear.
That's the gear.
Well, WindFae making the right choice, and I think that is going to be the race for her. Unless, barring something catastrophic, I think
there would have to be something catastrophic. But WindFae is in go mode.
And Coolio heading in the right direction, but it's very unlikely that he beelines for Zarian's Cave. Is still going to go through all of Lake Desolation and maybe go to the Pyramid first, even, which we now know would be the wrong decision.
Right, and the one flip side of going to Pyramid first is that you have to do Regret Chest. You have to think about it. It's not a terrible thing to do with Celestial Sash, but it is a lot of movement that if you don't have to do it, you don't really want to.
Absolutely.
So there's our Mysterious Warp Beacon for Coolio. He now has Pyramid access. We'll see how much time he spends here in Lake Desolation before getting out of there, and where he goes if that's what he decides to do.
Absolutely. But it, regardless of the decisions Coolio makes, I think this is WindFae's race to lose at this point. So I do want Coolio to finish, but it's looking like a second place. Yeah,
it's going to be really tough. Again, something horrible and catastrophic would have to happen. I honestly don't know what could happen here. But WindFae just going ahead, heading into the final 2 bosses. I'm going to go ahead and switch to WindFae's audio.
Yes, that makes sense.
It is flooded.
Okay, so it's going to be a slow couple of bosses, but nothing she hasn't handled before.
Yeah, we'll see. Actually, this will make it easier to sort of toe tap the save point and not get that full heal.
To really take advantage of the Shadow Seal.
Correct. Or just skip the save entirely.
Skip it completely. Oh, WindFae.
Oh, WindFae. When did you last save? Oh, well. First phase is done, and then switching to the Nether Orb for a quick second phase, probably. This is a lot of damage. Yeah, getting the golden idol, weak to blunt. Did not have the shadow seal on that loadout, which is what I was wondering. I was like, that still seems kind of low. Switching the shadow seal. There you go.
Such a huge difference. Wow, doubling her damage.
Yeah,
more than
well over doubling her damage. And here we go. Who is the second boss of the final gauntlet? It is Voltarillis. Weak to Empire Orb. So should not be too much of a problem for either of our runners. Also weak to Aura Blast, which, I mean, if you're going to be weak to one, might as well be weak to both. Plus, I mean, I think at this point, WindFae might just stick with Empire Orb. Maybe charge up a spell to do when she's out of range and has to swim over. Intentionally taking a whole bunch of damage, not doing a lot of dodging, getting it out halfway, less than halfway. Yep, and there it is. Exclamation points in chat for WindFae, who is the winner of this race.
And Coolio has seen it. Coolio is immediately forfeited.
Oh, that's a shame.
Well, yeah, I would have liked Coolio to finish this out. We knew that he was close, right? Which is not necessarily what he knew.
Yeah, that's true. Again, he would have had to go to Zarian Caves, so he could have gone in a lot of different directions. But we are joined in here by both our runners, WindFae and Coolio. GG's to both of you. Congratulations, WindFae.
Thank you. That was that was like I was shaking at the end of that one.
The Zarian Caves play ended up paying off for you. What was your thinking there between going to Zarian Caves specifically versus checking the pyramid?
My thought was just it has more checks, and every other time I've gone away from the more checks, it's been bad for me. So I also had a lot of damage and knew that I could get through the mushrooms with a single punch if I got hurt enough. So that helped a lot.
Also, I do want to point out something you might not know about Timespinner. There's these pedestals with these big orbs on them, and if you touch them, it saves your game.
What, did you not like me not saving before the final boss? I wanted more damage.
Anxiety.
I knew you had it, but
5 high potions. So I was like, if I get hit once, I'm popping them, whatever, but I need the damage. And then I saw it was idle, and I was like, cool, I've got Wind Orb and Blue Orb, both pluses. And then I forgot I didn't have Shadow Seal on my Blue Orb set. And I was like,
oh yeah, you were rocking Blue Orb and not Nether Orb. Okay. Coolio is in the booth with us here. Coolio did pick up Nether Orb in the pink room, which we were looking at that to see, because Coolio, having done the Maw Caves before doing Ilana's Tower, had that pink, and no one ever found any other pink. So, Coolio, well raced. It was pretty tight. You were a Zarian Caves check away from being right there in the pyramid. How do you feel about this one?
A lot better than my previous one. Imagine the amount of catharsis when I got Big Bird on Cantron again and shot it in the face.
Yeah, we both,
I
Jim remarked upon it. Yeah, Jim actually remarked upon how cathartic it must have been for you. So congrats on that at least. So both of you kind of had similar routes through the seed. If you don't count the Maw and Ilana swap, one of you went to one while the other went the other way. So other than that, pretty linear seed. Couldn't even go to the right of the library in the present because you didn't have the D card yet. Do you have any like decisions that you were thinking were bad or good? WindFae, like what was your feeling towards that end when it was a gear hunt?
Nervous, just mostly because I thought I'm really bad at the names of the warp points, so I thought the warp point was on the right side of the pyramid, right by the boss, and I was like, if it's in that one chest and I'm not checking it, that's just the end.
Oh, I see.
Like right before the boss. I was like, if it's right there, that sucks. But that was the biggest thing, that I was like, maybe I should have just ran through pyramids and gotten that warp and came back if I knew that, but...
Yeah, Coolio, what did you think about this seed? What were some of the decisions you made? Like I said, it was pretty linear, but there were a couple of options here and there around like one-off checks. What was your feel for the seed?
In general, I just tried to go to the least obvious place that I could think of that had something that hopefully was going to be useful, and sometimes it paid off, but obviously not quite enough.
Yeah, you were able to get a pretty good time gain on WindFae on two fronts. The twins fight coming back at a higher level when you had better damage, and then also skipping the moat and coming back when you had vertical, so you didn't have to raise the bridge and backtrack. So those were two spots that did kind of work out for you, and you were kind of fortunate that neither of those spots really had anything super important in terms of progression. So those did work out for you really, really well. And I've noticed, I think you are the only person that runs Timespinner that skips the moat that I've seen. So I want to pick your brain on that. What are your thoughts on the moat skip strategy there?
I mean, if you don't have the right items for it, then if there's nothing there, you're just gonna lose time. There could very well be something important there, but I'd rather just go there when I have a little bit more vertical to work with.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So the fallout of this is unfortunately, this is the loser's bracket, and as such, Coolio, you are eliminated from the tournament. That is a bummer. I hate that is a thing, that anybody has to be eliminated. I think it'd be great to just kind of run round robin, just competitive Timespinner until the end of time here. But unfortunately, this is a tournament, so we will have to see you go.
I prefer the term second chance bracket, because really, are there any losers who are still in the tournament?
No, absolutely. It's definitely a second chance bracket. That's a good call out. Meanwhile,
WindFae moving into the second round of the second chance bracket. You are going to be facing the loser of Urza versus Lord Raiden after they get their bye in the first round of the second chance bracket.
Gotta take a look at this bracket.
Yeah.
Yep. So, the eventual. Yes, so there is a bye in the first round of the second chance bracket there. Urza did get a first round bye as the second overall seed thanks to the qualifier. Lord Raiden did not submit a qualifier, but did win in their first round match against Rowan Maru. So what are your thoughts on your potential future opponents here?
I know there's so many people that are new to this tournament this year that I feel like I don't know half of them, which sucks because everyone playing this is great. So I guess it's a good way to get to know them, is racing against them. So that'll be good.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, I think. We are still very, very early in this tournament, so there's a lot that could happen. We have, I think, 3 races tomorrow, so that's going to be a really interesting vector to see how things
Tomorrow's going to be
pan
busy.
out. I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be busy.
Tomorrow's going to be real busy. I will be on comms for one of those, or no, I'm not going to be on comms for any of them tomorrow.
I will be on comms for one of them. Not all 3 of them, because they're all 3 happening at about the same time, but one of them.
Yes, but we will hopefully have restreams for all of those races tomorrow, and we already have one scheduled between you, Jim the Eternal, and Bodhi, aka Lunar Ray Games, on Wednesday. So there's a lot of action still left in the tournament. Again, Coolio, sorry to see you go. Do you have any final thoughts about the tournament, the flag set, any parting thoughts in general?
I mean, as far as the flag set goes, it's very different from last year. Just the amount of improvements that have come into the randomizer are pretty great. It's just completely different game every time. And other than that, well, I'm not really gone entirely. I'm sure to show up in the comms booth once or twice again.
Yeah, that sounds good. Looking forward to it. WindFae, do you have any thoughts on the tournament so far? What you're looking for in the future here?
Glad I got a tiny bit of a break. I feel like I did my last 3 races in the past 5 days or something like that. So I get a little bit of one. But I'm excited, like I said, to fight more people. Oh, it's just fun in general. I took a break from running randomizers for a good while, so it's nice to be back.
It's nice to have you back. Jim, you got any final thoughts for us before we call it?
I'm just having a great time. I'm just vibing. It's so fun to be in the booth here. It's so fun to watch these great runners play this game that I love, and I'm looking forward to more.
Yeah, I'm going to post the links here in chat. Make sure you follow our runners. Like Coolio said, we'll probably be in the comms booth in the future, so look out for that. And WindFae still in this tournament, so we'll have a brief break, but we'll be racing in the near future for sure. So look out for both of those. And, well, that's going to be it for us. I've been Wef Jubster, joined by Jim.
Happy to be here.
And thanks, everybody, for watching, and I will see you all in chat later.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.